time is 7:30, and I will call the public hearing and regular business meeting of Mayor and Council for the City of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, July 25th, 2022 to order. We do have a quorum. We have all our council members present. Tonight we'll have the invocation given by Jomi George.
Let's bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening, O God. We gather in a special place. Lord, you entrusted in all these elected members and officials in front of us. Lord, you given them the wisdom to lead this city, and the members and the friends we live here for one purpose and one desire in our heart to live a peaceful and harmless life throughout our journey in this life. Lord, we pray that you give wisdom to all especially the mayor and the whole council and the planning board, whatsoever they plan for the city of Snellville, that may come forth as good and be benefit for all the residents here in Snellville. We pray that your guidance be upon them, on their shoulder. As the Bible says, Lord, we are committed to pray for those who rule over us, the kings and those who make the plans for the city and the nations, and that we may live in peaceable and a quiet life in this world. So we pray that this evening and many days ahead, O God, that you continue to pour your peace and guidance and wisdom upon all our city leaders, O God. And also we thank you for the peace in this evening, O God. We continue to pray that you lead this nation as a whole. We pray in Jesus' name. We pray. Amen.
Thank you, Jomi. And now we'll have the pledge to the flag led by our Public Works Director, Gay Johnson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we have one item under ceremonial matters. We have a special recognition tonight. We have a proclamation 2022-12 on the retirement of Gay Johnson. She has worked for the city from 1993 to 2022, whereas Gay Johnson was hired as Public Works Director on July 4th, 1993. And whereas Gay Johnson has successfully created a family atmosphere within her Public Works team, achieving great results from their most positive workplace. And whereas Gay has worked tirelessly to improve all our public services, be it sanitation, recycling, stormwater, or landscaping. And whereas her efforts have earned the department numerous awards and statewide recognition. And whereas Gay was instrumental in creating a stormwater management service starting from scratch, which now ably serves our residential and community properties. And whereas Gay Johnson has served throughout her 29 years in an exemplary and dedicated manner as both employee and on a personal level. Therefore, I, Barbara Bender, Mayor of the City of Snellville, do hereby join with our City Council, all employees, and the citizens of Snellville who Gay has faithfully served, to express our appreciation and gratitude for the service rendered to the City of Snellville for the past 29 years. Proclaim this 25th day of July 2022. Her last day is Monday. She'll be at work on Monday, and then who knows where on Tuesday. So Gay, if you can come forward, and we got a special presentation for you. Wasn't expecting to get all choked up down there. Okay, so now we will move on with the minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2022 meetings.
There is a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none are opposed. Under invited guests, we do have an invited guest, Mr. Jomi George with Snellville Community Meets. Jomi, if you want to come up to the microphone.
Well, good evening. Can you hear me okay? All right, so my name is Jomi. Some of you probably have seen me for the first time, and some of you do know me before. I'm here on behalf of Snellville Community Meet Organization. Our organization started in 2020 with one goal and vision in mind, to connect with the different communities across Snellville, since we have so many new neighbors and new communities kept coming across. We don't know them, we don't know these people, we don't know this neighborhood. And one particular incident that caused me to start this organization. Snellville Community Meet, as you can tell from the name itself, it's all about Snellville. So one particular evening when I was coming home from work, and one young man met with an accident, couldn't get enough help to move around, and even though there was enough policemen and fire force and everyone was around him, but he was looking for help. And as I know, Snellville, about 25 plus years ago, that many individuals will stop by and say hi, and if they offer the help to do anything to help someone. So, but I was thinking back in my mind, like, many individuals are passing by, and the love and the cheer we all are getting together, that somehow been diminished from our midst. And I determined in my heart that we should somehow to make a way for that good old days to be back in our mind and heart in the neighborhood. And that's when I decided to have this conversation with quite a few of my neighbors in my subdivision, and some of my friends from Snellville. And they suggest me to have an organization that connects with all these different subdivisions in Snellville, that we all know each other. At least someone knows someone that we can help each other. And could be that can help and empower some of the individuals that can offer help, and someone desperately need help. Could be something to do with their home, and something to do with the, getting around, and they probably moved here for the first time and don't know. So my heart and soul goes after these people that desperately looking for this type of friends and families if they can connect, and especially people who have been living here for many, many years. They don't know individuals, and they probably trying to connect how they can go forward. Like just today itself, I was at the Snellville Walmart, and one young man I was talking to, and he said, he's looking for a local organization that he can connect with. He just moved from, I believe, from somewhere in New Jersey. So there are people like that all across the board, as you can see. And we've been conducting different events for that particular vision in 2020 and 2021. And just a few weeks ago, right outside the City Hall, we just had a meeting at the Green Lawn. So our desire, the organization as a whole, we want to see everyone come forward and to support us, and especially with the COVID, we have so many restrictions from the government perspective, so we just don't have any major events coming up. But at the same time, we're trying to have small gatherings in different locations. For example, we had our meeting last year at the Hampton Inn here, the new Hampton Inn Hotel, and we had a meeting at the Norris Lake, and we had a small meeting at the Walmart, at the Shane's Rib Shack, things like that. We're trying to have it a small number, so we don't need to invite a large crowd due to the restriction we had. So I'm hoping and praying that we can have the open mind with a lot of people that can bring such a joy and smile to many homes and friends in our Snellville, to bring back the good old days, the vibe that we all know each other, even though we don't know them personally. Somehow we can connect with, even though that person seeing that individual for the very first time, they can connect through as an organization, as a medium. That's my goal, and I really hope the friends and families gathered here will continue to support. And if you haven't, and there's information available, and unfortunately we didn't have that whole setup of showing that display today, but I do have information available. But my goal is to somehow to connect with all the friends and families, and especially the mayor and the whole council from the beginning of this organization. They've been extremely supportive and coming out and support for various events we had over the months and years, and I hope they continue to support us. And I'm really glad this evening and humbled by this opportunity to come out and speak on behalf of this organization, and thank you for each of you. All right.
Thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you.
And now we have no committee or department reports, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda, July 25th, 2022.
There's a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard Solange. We'll take that. So we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Now we'll have our public hearing, and I do want to read some information for the public hearing. And this will apply for all 3 items. In order to help everyone have an equal opportunity to be heard and minimize distractions, I ask the audience to please silence or turn off any electronic communication devices. I would like to remind everyone present that this is an official public meeting at which important business is conducted. The city attorney has advised the council that audience outbursts, including applause, have been used by the courts to overturn zoning decisions. Therefore, I ask that you refrain from applause and all other extraneous remarks. Each side will be allowed a total of 15 minutes for support and 15 minutes in opposition. This is not per person, but in total. So you may wish to consider coordinating your arguments beforehand or consider having a spokesperson present your position. If council members ask questions of you, it will not be deducted from your time. Should you have the opportunity to come to the microphone to make a comment in support or in opposition to any of the requests before us, please state your name and address for the public record before beginning. Please also direct all of your comments to myself and the council and not to the applicant or another speaker. And I do want to also announce the 3rd item on our agenda, item C, the second reading for RZ 2207, which is the application by Century Communities of Georgia, is the applicant has asked for that rezoning to be tabled. And so that is expected to be tabled until August 22nd. So if you're here for that hearing, you won't necessarily need to sit through the other 2 if you don't wish to do that. So first we have item A, second reading CIC 22-02, consideration and recommendation on application by Tomco 2 Systems Company requesting a change in conditions and variances from the Snellville Unified Development Ordinance to allow certain nonconformities to remain as is, while also allowing for a 2,400 square foot expansion of an existing nonconforming metal building. The property consists of A, Tract 1, which is 2.699 plus or minus acres, zoned OP, Office Professional District, 3320 Brushy Fork Road, Loganville, tax parcel 5009003. B, Tract 2A, 6.9 acres, zoned LM, Light Manufacturing District, 3340 Rosebud Road, Loganville, tax parcel 5099005. and C, Tract 2B, 8.32 acres, zoned LM Light Manufacturing District, 3330 Rosebud Road, Loganville, tax parcel 5099027. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, and the public for coming here. This is a change in conditions request by Tomco, as you stated. It's a small request for them to be able, they had built part of this building without knowing what the architectural standards were. So when they did come to get the permit after it was about half built, we let them know that because their site was so old, they had some nonconformities on the site that they would have to correct before they could legally construct the rest of the building. So some time went on, and we had some meetings with Tomco. I mean, Mayor was involved to try to smooth everything out, but the result was that the property owner has requested for the existing metal building, which I've outlined there, and then the additional 2,400 square feet to be built, but also the nonconformities on the site to allow them to remain until the time at which they start the third phase, and they will bring the entire site into code compliance. Seeing that Tomco has been a good partner with the city for a while, and it's just a few small things, we recommended approval of this request, but the request is to allow the parking areas to remain as existing. Some of them were gravel. That's not allowed currently. Maintain the existing stormwater facilities and not require curb and gutter on some of the already paved areas. Allow the existing lighting, allow the current tree density, and allow the current parking lot islands, which are all parts of the code that they're not in compliance, and they've been there for over 30 years, I believe. More like 40s. They were established in the early 1970s. Because the applicant states a willingness to bring the site into conformity at the time of phase 2, we recommend approval. There is no timeline for phase 2, but we have conditioned the approval that before beginning phase 2, they'll have to meet the code in those areas that I described previously before being able to move forward. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Does the council have any questions for Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Thompson, does this affect, if you could go to the back, the parcel that was rezoned a year and a half ago that fronts Brushy Fork and Rosebud, does it change any of the zoning that was put in effect?
No, sir. We specifically made sure that the correct parcels were mentioned in the conditions. Nothing can change to that without a specific application. They did submit some future planning phase for the northern property, but none of that can be changed from what was already approved back with their rezoning for that particular parcel.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other council members have a question for Mr. Thompson? No. Then is the applicant here? If you would like to present your case.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. My name is Tyler Lasser. I'm with Alliance Engineering and Planning, representing Tomco Systems. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for setting that up. He pretty much explained everything that I was planning to speak on tonight, but I do want to reiterate a few things. Essentially what Tomco is requesting are variances to allow the site to remain as is, in addition to that 2,400 square foot expansion to the metal building. At the time of a phase 2, like he had mentioned, Tomco will bring everything up to code, and that includes the gravel portion of the parking, which is used for mostly storage right now. That will be upgraded to paved area. They'll upgrade the stormwater facilities. They'll upgrade curb and gutter standards. They'll meet lighting standards, tree density standards, parking lot islands, things of that nature. Everything else that's currently non-conforming, they will upgrade at that phase 2 of expansion, and that expansion is likely going to be an additional, essentially a manufacturing facility in the southwest corner of the site, and just right out in that area. But with that, I have not received any phone calls or emails in opposition, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns you have tonight.
Thank you. Are there any council members that have a question for the applicant?
And as I understand, there's no timeline that we know of yet for Phase 2.
That is correct. Tomco does not know when they're going to start phase 2 yet, but they're planning, as of right now.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is a public hearing, so we will open the floor to public comment. If anyone would like to come and speak for this project, then please step forward and provide your name and address for the record. Seeing none, then I will ask if there's anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to the request. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. And seeing none, then I will close the public hearing portion, or the public comment portion of the hearing, and ask for a motion.
Motion to approve CIC 22-02 as presented by the mayor.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion by council? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. It was 6 in favor with none opposed. So now we will move to the second reading, item B, second reading RZ 22-05, consideration and recommendation on application by Lazaro Moda applicant and Britt and Camp LLC property owner, requesting to amend the official zoning map from RS 30 Single Family Residential District to RS 5 Single Family Residential District for an 11-lot, single-family detached residential subdivision on a 2.765 plus or minor acre site having a gross density of 3.978 units per acre, located at 2706 Lenore Church Road, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5028001. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we have case RZ 22-05. This is a submittal that we've had in the past, I believe about a little bit less than 12 months ago, but it's basically they're requesting the zoning from RS 30 to RS 5. The previous application had a future land use map amendment as well. It's not applicable anymore since we revised the code to allow RS5 and low-density residential zoning if the units per acre are below 4, which this one is. Very close at 3.978. It's a 11-lot, single-family detached residential subdivision with the detention pond located adjacent to Lenore Church Road, which I believe is going to be used more as an amenity space, and then open space open there to Lenore Church Road. The north end of the property there does border Briscoe Park. So have good access there, and according to the codes, the land use is appropriate in that area. It's also appropriate for the character area, which provides some support for the application. And with its current density of below 4, it does meet the threshold for low density residential. And this time, I think the biggest difference from the original application was there was a lot of 1 and 2 bedroom smaller type homes that I remember the council had some concerns for those. Most of these, as it states in the application, are going to be 2,400 to 2,800 square feet. It's just some typical renderings of, I guess, a farmhouse kind of craftsman type look that they would use. And then some of the insides or the finishes. It's a little that they would have as well. And based on a review of the comprehensive plan, the land use map, and the UDO, we recommended approval with our standard definitions or conditions, provided that the property be developed per the plan. All the driveways must have 22 feet in length. Property owner certification, 20% must be reserved for open space. Subdivision entrance sign, if any, shall be located on said open space. No signs higher than 15 feet, 225 square feet are prohibited, and non-substantial variances as determined by the director and city manager must be approved by the director and city manager. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Are there any questions of council for Mr. Thompson?
Mr.
Yeah, oh, I almost beat him. Okay,
We'll
go
go
ahead.
with Ms.
Okay, so the request to take this from an RS30 to an RS5 in terms of the zoning, am I going from low density to medium density?
Not in this case. RS5 is one of the classifications that we have in our UDO that allows for it to exist in multiple land uses. So if you were able to squeeze out more than 4 units per acre, which is really tough, I've seen them get 4.5, maybe 4 1/4, then they would fall into medium density. But by definition, because they're below 4, they are in low density. But just to kind of explain that a little better, an RS30 is 30,000 square feet. That's 3/4 acres. They'd never get to 4. They'd still be in the same category, but just on the bottom end of the range, where RS15 is about 1/3 of an acre, so it gets closer. The RS5 is just the smallest lot size you can have, and as long as you're under that number, which is 4.0 units per acre, you're considered low density. I don't think we've had one yet that's come in over 4. So we were having people apply, but then they couldn't even be in medium density. That's why we brought that change to you guys. I think it was about 6 months ago.
But this is a more intensive
It is. It's
land
more-
use than it currently is
It is.
zoned,
It's
as I understand
more.
it.
It's more dense. Just a little history of subdivisions in Snellville, even at the small scale. I don't think we've permitted anything over 7,500 square feet lots in almost 20 years. Shadowbrook, Old Hickory, Carrington, Saddlebrook, all of those are 7,500 and less as far as lot sizes go. So when we did this, this zoning district, what we were trying to do was eliminate the use for all those variances from our other zoning districts. But yeah, it's fair to say that you're obviously going to have more houses than you would from the most undense, the RS30, because of the lot sizes, yeah. And the streets will still have to be there, but it's on technically of low density per the land use plan. Anything over 4 would be apartments, townhomes, stuff like that.
Then Mr. Warner?
Yes, Mr. Thompson, looking at the drawing that they've submitted and was reviewed by staff, it's showing a dimension of 27 feet back a curb, and our code requires 27 feet paved.
30 feet total, correct? I agree. I believe it is. It would have to reflect that in order to get permitted.
Yeah, and right now they're asking us to approve this site plan, which is showing 27 feet back of curb.
Well, if you guys do seek approval, just to make sure it's in there and the expectation is
Well-
met, let's go ahead and add that as a condition.
It is our code, so that would be a variance, so whenever we have
Yeah,
anything.
no variances have been requested, so
Well-
I would, this was probably from the last
Yeah.
ordinance too.
The other thing is the stormwater management open space. So we're going to have a detention pond up against one of our main thoroughfares again. And now instead of a planted area or a berm, we're showing a path. Most detention ponds don't meet my idea of an amenity. I'd like a little more clarification of that. Also, well, I'll ask the applicant.
Yeah, and I'll leave most of that to the applicant.
Okay.
And what I'll tell you mainly just about detention ponds is nobody wants them on the road, but it's based on the topography. The site slopes down. So I would assume, I didn't design it, that that's why it's right there. Now, as far as how they're going to turn that into open space or a usable area, I'll allow the applicant to speak up a little bit more on that. That's about all I can tell you about the location.
And Mr. Thompson, if you'll clarify as well, because something is shown on this concept drawing, that this is just the concept drawing and
correct.
not, and it will go through our review and
Correct.
have to
Unless there's a
be designated by our code.
a specific variance has been identified and requested, everything reverts back to the code, even if it's incorrectly shown. Just approval of a concept plan. That's the whole key now, is this is just a conceptual, and we can't really catch everything from a cursory review of just a concept plan. So we rely on the development review process to make sure that all the codes are followed, and if they can't meet those codes, then they have to come back and request. It doesn't grant them an automatic variance just because they've slipped it in on the site plan.
Right, because like on lot 10 here, it's showing 4,400 square feet, not the 5,000 minimum, so they would have to fix
They
that.
have to meet the code. If they lose a couple lots, that's up to them to move forward or not, but the codes are still king, correct, Chuck? Yeah.
Okay. Any other council members with a question or comment for Mr. Thompson? Nope. Is the applicant present? You again?
Getting sick of me yet? Tyler Lasser with Alliance Engineering and Planning at 299 South Main Street. That's Alpharetta, Georgia. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, Lazaro Mota, who is requesting to rezone the subject site, which is about 2.8 acres from RS30 to RS5 to develop just an 11-lot, single-family detached subdivision. Just to reiterate, again, thank you, staff, for setting that up. Site's located on the east side of Lenora Church Road, and it's right between Gwinnett County Public Library and the Preserve at Briscoe subdivision, which is also I don't really have a great picture of the subdivision, but it's a relatively dense subdivision, more that medium density. And then it's also just north, I'd say walking distance of Briscoe Park, which is less than a mile south, and is less than a mile south of the new town center that's obviously rapidly growing. Regarding the site itself, there are sidewalks proposed along the internal street, which will provide a nice safe access for residents to walk to that park or the nearby library, or even ride bikes to the town center or one of the multiple schools in the area. Going back to the site plan, we are providing that additional path around the stormwater detention pond, which of course is the low point. But we just wanted to use that area just to make it a little bit, I know it's not an official amenity. For a subdivision this size, it doesn't require a big clubhouse or pool or anything. We just wanted to add something a little extra and just make best use of that space. Just a good area for people to walk their dogs and just enjoy the area. In addition to that, of course, there will be the 50-foot open space. I believe it's 50 feet along the road frontage of Lenora Church Road, and anything south of that path will be able to vegetate as well for a little bit more screening. Beyond that, as was mentioned, the homes would be constructed with that modern farmhouse look with a variety of cement exterior materials and some accents of brick. They will all be 2 stories and have a 2-car garage, so total 4 spaces per house. The homes themselves will range between 2,400 and 2,800 square feet, and with that, the price point will start around the mid-500s. Other than that, I've not, again, heard any opposition. No emails, no calls, no texts, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns you have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Lasser. Are there any council questions of the applicant? Okay.
Can you talk, oh, I'm sorry. Can you talk somewhat about landscaping and perhaps safety around this stormwater amenity?
Sure, and of course, like it was mentioned before, this does have to go through the land disturbance permit process, so it will be reviewed. I'm assuming it would the city requires some sort of fencing around the pond, so that would be added. And then in addition to that, again, there would be some landscaping along the road frontage of Lenora Church Road. But beyond that, I'm not an engineer myself, so I can't speak too much on the actual design of the pond, but it will have to meet all of the safety standards of the city before the approval of a land disturbance permit.
I live in the subdivision right across from the proposed site. As we come out of our subdivision, Hickory Hills, on Green Valley Road, the residents of my neighborhood are not at all excited about the possibility here of another detention pond as we pull out. We've already got what we've got over at the Preserve Briscoe. Is there any consideration of putting this underground if it's supposed to be such an amenity?
Again, I'm not, I apologize, I can't speak on behalf of the engineering of it. I'm not an engineer, but I don't believe that was feasible. If it was, I think it would have been in my client's favor to have been able to add an extra lot or two on the site. But I know they have in the past, and I've seen this with other developments as well, just where there is a stormwater management pond, just make the best of it and add that trail around it. But that's the site. I mean, all the topography slopes towards, that is the low point, and there's nothing they can really do about it unless they moved a lot of dirt. It would take some pretty intense grading to put a pond elsewhere. So regardless, there would be a pond somewhere on the site, but we thought that would, of course, be the most efficient location.
Right, we get the topo as far as, you know, the area drains into that particular
Right.
site. But the issue for, I think, many of us in my neighborhood is we don't want to have to look at it.
Sure, and it will be, we're okay with a condition as well for that, that stretch of the pond along Lenora Church Road. If, landscape strip would be perfectly fine, and that would, I believe, provide that year-round screening of the pond.
Any other questions of the applicant from the council?
Will this development have a mandatory HOA?
Yes, sir, and I believe that is a condition of zoning from staff.
So with a stormwater pond of that size, with a beautiful fence around it, and then a trail on the outside, how are 11 homes gonna pay for the maintenance of a stormwater pond that is of that size? I'm concerned going forward as a municipality that we are gonna end up not only with an eyesore along Lenore Church, but also a maintenance issue.
Yeah, I candidly, I don't know how to answer that question. It will be on the responsibility of the HOA to take care of that. But beyond that, it's just, as it is with any subdivision, they'd be in charge of maintaining that with fees. But beyond that, I don't have anything else to add to that. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions of council for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we,
Thank you.
so this is a public hearing item, so I will open the floor to public comment. If anyone would like to speak in support of this request, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. And again, there's 15 minutes for anyone speaking in support. Seeing none, then I will see if there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this request. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Betty Ann Cuman, excuse me, 2155 Woodbury Run Drive, Snellville. I live in a cluster home community. We have 3 retention ponds with 153 homes. We have a healthy reserve, but I have to say that it does require tremendous drain on your dues to maintain these ponds. What we started out with as servicing the ponds twice a year has become, depending on the rain, you may have it 3 or 4 times a year. And now we have trees that have gone up in there, and HOA has now hired a tree company to come in and remove those trees. And if you've ever had a tree removed on your property, you know that that doesn't come cheaply. The other objection I have is the view. I agree with Councilman Christy Linsky that the view on 124 Lenore Church Road is not what I would want to view every time I come out of the subdivision. Luckily, in our subdivision, the ponds are behind homes, hidden behind fences, and most of the residents are not even aware that there are retention ponds in the community. So that's my objection, to the aesthetics of it. And then with that number of homes, I don't see how they can maintain the pond.
Thank you, Ms. Kumin. Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Barry Wiggs. I live at 2210 Stockton Walk Lane. I'm not really in opposition, but being a former builder / developer, I do have a couple of comments. One is with a 27 to 30 foot wide curb to curb. Emergency vehicles, if you don't have some type of restriction on parking on one side or the other, you're going to have issues with the density here of the second or third car or visitors where they're parking on both sides. And you literally, in some of the subdivisions I'm in now, you literally may or may not get through. A fire truck, ambulance may not even get through there. The other thing is the retention pond being so close to Lenore Church. Will that be a line of sight issue for cars traveling north on Lenore Church? That's my only 2 comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wiggs. Anyone else with a comment? Seeing none, then I will close the public hearing. Right. I'll close the public comment, and the applicant, if you'd like to come up and rebut. I believe you have 12 minutes. 10 minutes and 10 seconds. There you go.
I don't need that much time. I just wanted to say, yeah, again, this is just simply a conceptual plan. It will, of course, be constructed in general conformance with this, but every standard that is required within the ordinance will have to be met. So if the right-of-way, the internal right-of-way has to be wider, it will be met. I believe someone mentioned one of the lots was a little bit too small. That will have to be increased in size. I know we have a little bit of room to work with, so that shouldn't be an issue. But no matter what, stormwater management, Department of Transportation related things, that's all going to be reviewed by the city's great engineers and reviewers, and it will make a sufficient development once reviewed and permitted. But with that, I have nothing else to add.
Thank you, Mr. Lasser.
Thank you.
Does council have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, then the public hearing is now closed, and I will entertain a motion.
Motion to deny RZ 22-05.
There is a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion to deny and a second on the table. Any comments by council?
Mayor, I think that maybe we need to have somebody recluse themselves from this.
I'm sorry, have somebody recuse
Yes,
themselves?
yes, ma'am.
Well, at this point, someone could abstain, but everybody's participated in the discussion. So recusal would be late. And what are your grounds for asking from which council member and
From
why?
Ms. Linsky,
Why?
because she lives too close to the area and, you know,
The city attorney can discuss that.
yes.
You weren't on your microphone. Did you hear that? Ms.?
No, actually, I couldn't.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
So obviously, we're working within the city limits, so all council members are necessarily members of the same city. There's nothing in our code that I'm aware of that has a geographical or measurable distance that someone could be from. Certainly, she can always recuse herself if she wished to, but as it's not in her own neighborhood per se, which even then, I don't believe that would necessarily be a basis, even if it was in her own neighborhood. But there's no financial interest to be considered there. I'm just not aware of any reason she would have to recuse herself.
Thank you.
Any other discussion of council? Okay, so we have a motion to deny on the table. Mr. Lasser, would you like us to proceed to a vote, or would you prefer to request to withdraw the application?
So if it were to be withdrawn, the application wouldn't be able to be resubmitted the same amount of time, or was it six months sooner? How does?
If you withdrew it, you'd be able to restart. You would not have the 6-month penalty that you'd have if there was a denial. So you'd have to restart the submission process again anew, but you would not have the 6-month penalty that would normally be incurred by a denial.
Okay. I guess I'll go with that. I'll withdraw the application.
Okay, so we have a motion to deny on the table with a second. Councilmember Linsky, would you withdraw your denial and accept the applicant's request for a withdrawal, or would you?
Yes, I will withdraw my denial and accept don't we have to vote on that? Motion to approve the withdrawal of the app?
Okay, so Christie has withdrawn her denial motion and is making a motion to accept the applicant's withdrawal. Mr. Warner, you seconded that. Would you accept that amendment?
I'll second the withdrawal.
Okay, so now we have a motion to approve the applicant's withdrawal of the RZ 22-05. And we have a motion and a second. So all in favor for the withdrawal, please raise your hand. That is 5 in favor. Any opposed? Any abstention? You're just abstaining? Yes. So that's 5 in favor for the withdrawal, none opposed, and 1 abstention. So we've allowed your
Sure.
withdrawal of
And
your
I'm sorry, just to
motion.
clarify, we don't have to wait. There's not a 6-month waiting period before a reapplication.
And I should have clarified the word's not penalty. It is a waiting period under state law. So that's correct. You would not have the 6-month period. You would have to start anew, though, just like a new application.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we have item B done. We're moving to item C, the second reading. Okay, we have second reading RZ 22-07 and LUP 22-06. And it's the applications by Century Communities of Georgia LLC and Hazel L. Lee and Brenda G. Lee, the property owners. This rezoning has been The applicant has asked to table this item until August 22nd meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to table RZ 22-07 and LUP 22-06 until the August 22nd meeting.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. So we will have the second reading and public hearing on August the 22nd. That ends our public hearing portion of the meeting. We have nothing under the consent agenda or old business, so we'll move to new business. Consideration and action on Resolution 22-07, adoption of the 2022 millage rate. Mr. Sanders, did you want to say anything about that before we go?
I'd just like to say that the staff is recommending a reduction in the millage rate to 4.00 mils. That will bring in the needed amount of money to keep our FY23 budget totally balanced. It is going to be a reduction for some people. It will not be for others. It just depends on your reassessment amount. Overall, I think it's a fair millage rate that allows us to continue the level of services that we have been providing, and we'll just take a look at that every year, as we always do, and try to be as fair and equitable as we can to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 22-07, adoption of the 2022 millage rate of 4.00 mils.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? I would just like to say that I'm very pleased that we were able to lower the millage rate this year. We've been holding at the 5.88 now for 7 years. And with the good new development that we've had in the city, and then of course property values going up, that we were able to roll back that rate to the 4.0 and still maintain what we need to collect in our budget. So with that, with the motion and the second to approve, all in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Have item B, consideration and action on the approval of the contractor and budget for the construction of the hall at the Grove. We are going to make a motion to table this one item. We didn't get enough of the information in. Butch went ahead and put it on the agenda in the hopes that we would have all our information together, and we don't have it yet from the developer, so this will be tabled. Is there a motion?
Motion to table new business item B through our next meeting.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. That ends our business meeting, so we'll move to council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Solange DeStang.
Hello, everyone. I had the pleasure of participating in the Back to School Family Beautification Bash and Barbecue, sponsored by our very own South Gwinnett High School PTSC. There were over 70-plus students in attendance, and that was on a Saturday, so that's really awesome. The students completed various painting projects in our bus lane locations, and we all had a lot of fun. They mingled, they spoke. A lot of them were very eager to go back to school, to just have some kind of normalcy to that. Also, I would like to thank the subdivisions of Harbor Oaks and Williamsdown for inviting the entire council on Saturday, June 26th, to join in the neighborhood SNAP gathering. Thanks to SNAP and its increased communications, the crime rate in this neighborhood remains very low. I would like to commend Tricia Rollins, the founder of SNAP, for her efforts to bring neighbors together. She has a passion for keeping our community safe through increased communication, and we see that all the time. We see her communication skills all the time. It was very evident to me on Saturday, beyond the food and of course the water slide, that this was a great representation of community in Snellville. Last but not least, this Saturday, July 30th, from 9:30 to 1:30, the Greater Eastside Chamber of Commerce will host its 4th annual Back to School Block Party. This event will be held at South Gwinnett High School. They will give away backpacks and school supplies. There will also be vendors and so much more. Please come out and participate in this event. Tell your neighbors, bring your kids, bring your grandkids. It will be an awesome time for all. And on that note, I want to wish you a safe evening further, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Take care and be safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Solange. Councilmember Warner?
I too would like to thank Tricia Rollins for the invitation to the get-together over at Harbor Oaks. I really appreciated getting an opportunity to go out and meet many of our residents that wouldn't open the door when I was knocking, trying to get their votes. So I was able to pester them while they ate, and a great group of people, and it was a really great event. So I really appreciate her hard work in getting that put together. This last weekend, we had another fabulous concert. If those of y'all who were not able to attend, it was Chicago Transit Authority, and they are a group of local guys. One actually graduated from Central Gwinnett High School, and they put on a fabulous concert. It was second to none. 3 different singers, so they were able to cover everything from the late 60s all the way through the late 80s, I think was the last tune that they had, and it was absolutely fabulous. So I appreciate Chuck Ross, our city attorney, for bringing it to the attention of STAT, so we got to hear them, and I even enjoyed Johnny's warm-up act. So thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. It's wonderful to see so many people here in the room again. Have a safe trip home, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Councilmember Schultz. Linsky. I'm looking at you and
Here I am. All right, last Saturday, we had the Adult Advisors for Snellville Youth Commission planning retreat, and thank you to Councilman Todd Warner and Mayor Barbara Bender for dropping in just to see that you support our organization, and all of us here on council have done so. We spent about 4 hours getting our calendar together for the school year to build civic engagement, leadership, diversity, and we'll also be taking on a public service project this year as well. So looking forward to starting our regular sessions on August 27th with the students. We'll go on and look at a youth summit for October, community service project as we move into November, December. And then we're looking to, and once again, invite Joseph Washington, motivational speaker, back in to talk about the growth mindset and continuation of learning. Learning is a lifelong activity. On a different note, today I started my very last year of teaching. So year 30 was, I don't know, bittersweet day, I guess, to think that this is the very last time that I will be joining a school in regular contract hours. So a year from now, I'll be where Gay Johnson is, and congratulations to her.
thank you, Christy. Councilmember Schultz.
I also want to thank Kelly McAloon for the wonderful concert on Saturday night. I enjoyed it so much. It was absolutely great. The crowd was enormous, really, from one end of the green to the other. It was a terrific concert. And Gay, I just can't tell you how much we are going to miss you. And tonight I wanted to show you some photos from the farmers market that I wanted to tell you a little bit about. One thing I enjoy doing at the market is walking around and talking to some of our vendors and seeing the foods that they offer, especially foods that I'm not always, acquainted with. So I wanted to show you a couple of the folks we have at our market. This is Floyd Jarvis. He and his wife Judy offer Guyanese food, and their booth is called Beatrice Foods. And Floyd came to this country from Guyana in 1987, and they offer foods popular in that country, such as chicken curry and cassava pone. And Floyd told me that he really enjoys being part of our market because of the variety of ethnic cuisine represented there, and he just enjoys seeing the vendors and the customers mingle. The next photo is Lorraine Reed, and Lorraine has been with us for about 5 years, and the booth that she has is called Nisha's Flavors of India. And she offers naan and samosas and chutneys and other Indian type foods. The next photo, this is a favorite. This is Amir Isovic. Amir has been with us since he was 16 years old and a student at South Gwinnett High School. We watched Amir finish high school, attend and graduate from Georgia State. He's 25 years old now, and he represents his family bakery at the market. It's called Grand Prix Bakery. His family came to this country from Bosnia when he was 3 years old, and he sells a variety of Eastern European breads. Works as a financial consultant now. So we've seen him all the way from being a student with Miss Linsky to being a financial consultant now. The next picture, this is a new vendor with us, Lorena Aziz. She sells. She is from Chile and sells Chilean foods, including Chilean empanadas. And she explained to me that each country has their own version of an empanada. Her variety contains beef, onion, black olives, and raisins, which she said it represents just a bunch of flavors in your mouth. She, as I said, she's a new vendor, and she's so grateful to be with us. I must hear her say to me 2 or 3 times every market, bless you, thank you for letting me come. She's a delightful lady, and those are her empanadas that she's showing. And the last vendor I wanted to tell you about is Chang Family Farms. They're also new to us this year. The Changs are natives of Laos, and he particularly enjoyed telling me the story. I thought this was very interesting about his father, who fought in what was known as the Secret War in Laos, and he fought with a CIA organized group that against the Vietnamese, and I thought that was just really interesting. He's very proud of that. Following the Vietnam War, he was a refugee in Thailand, came to this country in 1990. He moved to Georgia not too long ago because he wanted to come here to be a farmer. Farmer was in his family background. He loves farming. He has 3 acres out in Monroe now. But this is Mrs. Chang, and she was proudly showing me the bitter melon leaves. And they sell some interesting produce. They sell a lot of the produce that we're very much acquainted with, carrots and those kinds of things. But they also sell some interesting things such as bitter melon, and of course they have bok choy and Japanese eggplant. So I just wanted to show you some of the variety of vendors that maybe you might not be acquainted with at our farmers market, and kind of focus on those. The last two pictures I wanted to show you tonight are the community garden. And this photo, this is the one bed that we have at the garden, well, one of a couple beds, I think, that is dedicated to the Southeast Gwinnett Co-op. That is sweet potatoes that are in there. And I can't wait to see how many sweet potatoes we're going to be digging up maybe about September to give to the co-op. It is just full of sweet potato vines. And then the last picture I wanted to show you, I told you a few months ago how the garden is now a member, I guess you'd call it, of the Rosalind Carter Butterfly Trail, which starts in Plains, Georgia. And this butterfly trail is especially dedicated to the monarch butterfly, which is facing, extinction. We have planted a lot of milkweed at the garden, which is the one plant that the monarch butterfly especially likes. Well, we were at the garden over the weekend, I guess it was Sunday. There were so many monarch butterflies there, both adults like this and little babies. It just made me so happy to see all of the monarchs there in our garden that we've been able to bring to the garden, especially with the milkweed that we've planted and the other flowering plants. They were especially attracted to this one that I took the picture of. So that's my update on the farmers market and community garden.
Thank you, Gretchen. Mayor Pro Tem Emanuel.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Gay and Craig have left, but I met Gay Johnson back in 2011, 2012 when I was first elected to the council, and had a little bit of heartburn over some of the things that were being proposed. Went down and spoke to her, and she set me straight and told me what was what and how it was going to be. Not nasty, but she explained it. And ever since then, I've called her many times. She's always on the ball, always knows what's going on, and has just done an absolutely outstanding job for the city. And we're really, really sorry to see her go. Craig Barton is also an excellent member of the Public Works Department, and I have nothing but great expectations. I've had a lot of dealings with Craig, and he's always there. He's always willing to work and get done what needs to get done. So he's definitely an asset to the city. And lastly, I want to recognize Jomi George. I've been to a few of his Snellville meets, get-togethers, always does an excellent job. And, I've said for years that the Snellville community does not end at the city limits. And I think he's definitely proof of that. He includes everybody in the Snellville community, and I think just does an excellent job. And thank you for all the work you do for the community.
Thank you, Dave. And for the mayor's report, I too would like to thank Harbor Oaks and Williams Down, Tricia Rollins, for the invitation to come out for their neighborhood gathering. It was great to be able to come out and meet some of the neighbors and talk to some people who have lived in Snellville, moved away, and moved back. And then some that moved from one place to not Snellville and came to Snellville because they liked it better. So it's always nice to hear those situations and find out how people wound up here. Why did they choose Snellville? So it's always great to hear and hear the good comments of why people want to be here in our community. It was a great concert Saturday night. The weather held out great. a little warm to begin with, but what a great show Chi-Town put on. And want to announce too, there's a ribbon cutting this week. I wrote down where it is, and I didn't put what day it was. It's Be Soulful Restaurant. They're in the Snellville Oaks Shopping Center. It's 2135 East Main Street, and it is on Thursday at 1 p.m. So if you'd like to come out there and help support this local restaurant, we would appreciate your being there. I'm sure they would really, really appreciate it. And with that, I will end my mayor's report, and I will open the floor to public comment. Please remember that anyone who wishes to address the mayor and the city council need to give your name and address for the record. Your comments should be limited to 5 minutes on one chosen topic. And I will open the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Americans living in the United States, we all have the same opportunity in this country to express our First Amendment rights.
Excuse me, Kelly, sorry. Name and address for the record.
Kelly McAloon, 2916 Overwood Lane, Snellville. Shall I start over? Just saying. Thank you. As Americans living in the United States, we all have the same opportunity in this country to express our First Amendment rights. However, when that right becomes malice in nature, the expressions can quickly be perceived as defamatory. After the last city council meeting held on July 11th, my character was maliciously attacked during public comment by Miss Anne Lefevre in response to an email and video clip I sent to this mayor and council. I would like the email and video clip to be part of public record so people can view this and come to their own conclusion. I sent the email and video clip to our mayor and council, city managers, as a concern about what Mr. Wilson, the president of GECC, said in this video, since he claims to represent the city of Snellville as a chamber of commerce. I believe somebody in a leadership role representing a city should reflect upon the city and not create perceptions that divide the people. The video Mr. Wilson made started off great, recognizing the vendors, but then came the part that raised my concerns. His comment was, and I quote, oh, Cleopatra ain't white. We be careful, we on camera, which to me alludes to say he said something wrong. We must be the example to those around us, regardless of race, color, or creed. Based on the email I sent, Ms. Lefevre also accused me of having a slave master mentality, and she goes on to say that I think black people must adhere to what I feel is black acceptable behavior. I was astounded to be called these names and have found her accusations attacking and defamation of my character. For me, it doesn't matter the pigmentation of your skin, but what does matter is your character and how you present yourself. It's a good thing that I have lived in this community a long time and people know me, as my reputation precedes me. I personally strive for perfection in all that I do, and I'm driven to achieve high standards. I have volunteered in this community for the last 30 years, serving on various boards, working with many cultures through the years, and have never been called racist in my life. I've worked with STAT for 13 years now. My heart and work are for the people in this community, all the people. My behavior and actions speak for themselves, and I will stand firm on the truth. Ms. Lefevre also mentioned that I refused to work with her, which is absolutely not true. She called and asked me what sponsors do in an event. I told her what I could, then directed her to our website to look at our vendor applications, and also directed her to Mr. Sanders for city-related needs. For the record, Ms. LaFavor said the restrooms were put out, then removed as an attempt to sabotage the Juneteenth event. This couldn't be farther from the truth. The restrooms were never delivered due to circumstances out of the company's control, which they profusely apologized for. It was unfortunate, but certainly not planned. Lastly, I would like to address Ms. LaFavor's comments about having a recent candidate on the stage at one of our events. This is true, but what she failed to mention is that this candidate paid a $500 sponsorship to be on that stage, which is perfectly acceptable. I feel like I'm being bullied with such slanderous remarks that were made publicly, but will continue to move forward and serve the great people of this city professionally and let the truth be known. I will continue to pray for peace and unity for our community, as there is so much good going on in this city, and I'm confident that hope will continue to prevail. And on another note, if I may, just want to congratulate Gay Johnson on her retirement. Stat just can't thank really Gay enough, and the Public Works Department for all they've done for us for the past 13 years. We love her and miss her. I know she's trained Craig well, and I'm very confident with Craig at the wheel, we'll be in good hands. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McAloon. Anyone else?
Norman Carter, 2777 Nathaniel Way, Grayson, Georgia. Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of Snellville Council, I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. After the last council meeting on July 11th, 2022, I left feeling concerned and confused. I heard a serious allegation of racism directed at everyone on the dais and a, quote, government employee, end quote. The council person who initiated a motion to have the proclamation for the Juneteenth celebration placed prominently and permanently inside of City Hall was dubbed a racist. As a Black American, I know that whenever anyone is accused of being a racist, it becomes a tag that sticks like gum on hot cement, and it's just as hard to remove. That is why I took those remarks so seriously. Words have meaning. Words have consequences. Absorbing criticism is an occupational hazard of elective office, but such a serious accusation placed on an entire government can be divisive enough to be crippling. That crippling affects every citizen of Snellville. It affects our children. I know racism. I have actively fought it my entire life. Last meeting's verbal assault on council and the mayor was nothing more than a malicious grandstanding based on irresponsible sharing of misinformation about a harmless document. Citizens not acquainted with Snellville Council's policy may have taken this silence as guilt. Not true. Our council has a policy of civility and tolerance during a time for public comments. That policy prevents our meetings from becoming chaotic, divisive, and dysfunctional. After the meeting, I prepared an email to express my concerns to the mayor and every member of City Council. As a former investigative supervisor in the Philadelphia Police Department and the Pennsylvania Office of Inspector General, I am a seeker of truth. The truth had to come from council and the mayor. Wisdom is supreme. Acquire wisdom. With all your acquisitions, get understanding. That's Proverbs 4:7. The next day, I was contacted by the mayor and 4 of the 6 members of council. The mayor pro tem gave me an opportunity to meet with him to view the internal internal emails and a video that became public knowledge, and come to my own opinion about what I had read and seen. There was no racism. What I read were concerns about the preparation and administration of the Juneteenth celebration. In addition, there was a serious concern about comments on the stage of that event that painted the mayor and members of council and others as racist. My investigation showed those accusations were unfounded. This occurred at a celebration of Black history and this country's becoming unshackled from the chains of slavery. It was allowed by the leadership of the city. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Sir Walter Scott. Hearts have been broken. Tears have been shed. Council is steps away from being mired in the quicksand of distrust and disunity. Stop it now. We cannot allow our council to be wrecked by lies and deceptive innuendos that have no place in a progressive and responsive government. If you can keep your head when all about you, or losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is much more. You'll be a council person or a civic leader with integrity and public respect. That's from Rudyard Kipling and a little help from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, men and women here this evening. My name is Deborah Jones. I live at 1657 Ramblewood Way. I work on several boards here. I have the pleasure and the honor. Thank you very much. And one of my quotes is, either you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem. I believe that we should all first seek in our hearts and in our souls what motivates us to do what we do, to say what we say. And as people here, we work for and represent the city, the people, each and every one here in Snellville. It has nothing to do with religion, who you are, but that you are a citizen here. I see a plague that's trying to infiltrate our city. And I'm here to say, not on my watch. I appreciate what the leaders are doing, how we're moving forward in the city. I see great things happening. I say that we can no longer, and we can't allow this enemy to come in and separate us as a people. We can disagree, we can agree to disagree, that's fine. But we don't have to have attitudes toward one another. And if we do, we need to speak to each other privately to iron out our differences and not make it publicly, because what happens is you poison other people's minds that really don't know what's going on. And I had more to say, but I'm just moved right now because I'm so emotional, so forgive me. But, you know, I believe in peace. And the word says, the Bible says, that we're supposed to live in peace with our fellow person. And I say that we need to, like I said, check ourselves, check our hearts, and where we at, and why we are motivated to do what we do. And if you're not motivated by love, then you're not motivated by truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Melvin Everson, 1725 Winding Creek Circle, Snellville, Georgia, Mayor and Council. Thank you all for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I didn't come with prepared remarks, but after I've heard what I've heard, I just could not let this opportunity go by without my commenting. I've been in this great city since 1988. Lived in Hickory Hills until I relocated to where I am. I got my start in politics right here in Snellville. Emmett Clower and the council appointed me to Planning and Zoning Board, where I served for 5 years. And then I ran for city council in 1999, and I got elected in 2001, going on to be making history for the city of Snellville, and then going on to be elected to the Georgia House of Representatives, and then going on to be appointed by Governor Deal to lead 2 state agencies. One of those state agencies was the Georgia Commission on Equal Opportunity, where we handle and we look at discrimination complaints. As the gentleman who so eloquently stated before I got up here, okay? When I was elected to the city council in Snellville, I was welcomed with open arms, being the first black to be elected to that post. Through the combined efforts and my coordination with the city council and the mayor, we implemented the Snellville Police Academy. That was brought to this council and this city under my watch, as I was the liaison person over the police department, and Tim Cogan was the leader of that opportunity at that time for the city of Snellville. That was on my watch. I used the policies and procedures and protocol set forth by the city to make that happen. Snellville has been great for my wife and I. We raised our son here, graduate of South Gwinnett, went on to graduate University of Georgia. I refuse to allow outside forces to come in and paint with a broad brush the people as racist in Snellville. There are good people here. They stood by me, they voted for me, and they supported me. And when I heard what went on that night and I saw that video, I was shocked and flabbergasted. And I'm going to close with this. Yes, I attended a Juneteenth celebration in Marietta, Georgia. Wonderful event. Thousands upon thousands of people were there. Every ethnicity on the globe. They had over 150 vendors. They had proper entertainment. Everyone was just socializing, talking, and participating. Not a harsh word shared by anyone. That's what I want for Gwinnett County. And that's the city I want to live in, and I live in that city now. I trust you. I trust all of you. I trust all of you. And I respect you for the position you hold. Because when I sat in their seat, there were some difficult decisions I had to make. When I was PTSA president at South Gwinnett High School, once again making history for this city, there were some difficult decisions I had to make. But I knew life is lived forward and understood backwards. Now I look back, I see why I was placed there. And I stand here to tell you all, we cannot allow these divisive forces to come in and destroy what the great city of Snellville has already created as we move forward. And you know my position now, VP of Economic Development at Gwinnett Technical College. Great opportunity, and I highlight Snellville every opportunity I get with that college. And I'm inviting you all to be part of our walkthrough of the new $34.8 million emerging technology building in October. You will get an official invitation from President Cannon to come view that facility. $34.8 million emerging technology cybersecurity building, which we have a lot of students from South Gwinnett attending that institution. And last but not least, a study done by Georgetown University 2 weeks ago recognized Gwinnett Tech as being tied for first place of two-year institutions in the entire United States based upon the amount of money students pay for those associate's degrees and the debt they accrue by going and the job they receive after they graduate from a 2-year college. Gwinnett Tech is rolling, and I want to make sure Snellville continues to roll. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Everson.
Mayor and Council, Bobby Howard, 2240 Pinehurst Road, Snellville, Georgia. And I'm about to break the cardinal rule. I am speaking after Melvin Everson. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Mayor, council members, administrative staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. I have recently been inquiring about a work session agenda item put on by a member of council. When I first saw this was June 13th, item C, discussion about better communication between council. Member that brought this item forth then asked for it to be moved to the next council meeting. So not knowing what this was about, I reached out to that member via email and made my inquiry. The response I received was, Bobby, I understand your concern, however, I would rather not talk about it. I thought that was an odd response, basically saying I don't want to communicate about what I believe to be a communication issue. I was in hopes of hearing directly what the issue was. Then I submitted several open records requests, hoping to learn what I could regarding this issue. The information I received to my request, which my request was please provide any and all previous and current email correspondence between councilperson and other members of council regarding agenda item from past work session and work session July 11th, 2022. B, discussion about better communication between council. No emails were found. I then attended the July 11th meeting where the same agenda item appeared again on the work session to once again hear information on this agenda item. What happened next left me completely in disbelief. An absolute attack ensued on two members of this council that at times was very hard to watch, and even the mayor had to step in and tried to halt this brutal attack. I have watched it over and over on the work session video. Nothing in the agenda item description even came close to what unfolded. There could not have been a more blatant attempt by this member to humiliate these members, and all under the guise of council communication. This was an absolute ambush from the beginning, plain and simple. Yelling at these members. It was quite a disturbing display. This was nothing remotely close to what the agenda item description was. As a member of this body for 6 years, when any member put an item on any agenda, we were expected to talk about that item, not ambush other members. It was one of the most egregious violations of meeting decorum I have ever witnessed. It was shameful. This member has also put forth a request to add a paid holiday to the city staff. While I completely support all of the efforts of our city staff, my question is, how much will it cost? Apparently, the spending of taxpayer money is no concern to this member. Well, it certainly is to me. You can't just raise your hand and say, let's add a paid holiday. There's a process and a protocol to follow. Seems this member is blind to the other 5 members who serve the city as well. In closing, let me say that I appreciate the task at hand of running our city. I lived it, and I am grateful to have done it. Our city is a good city. And when others begin to tear down that good, I pay attention, and thousands of others will too. I will make it my top of list to shine a light on those who will use their position on this council to further any goal or ambition to divide our city. And finally, I tried to learn the reason this council member acted the way they did from research. I was able to discover the reason that they gave was I was yelling because English was not my first language. Well, I did some additional research from WebMD, Google, and the Mayo Clinic. There has never been a medical condition discovered that would cause a person to do that. But I'm open to the information if it's available. Thank you all for your time and your service to our city.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mayor Bender and Snellville City Council. I guess I'm going to be breaking that cardinal rule also this evening.
Your name and address for the
I'm
record.
Preston Wren, 3680 Pine Bloom Place, Loganville, Georgia. And I'm also a candidate for state representative in the shadow of Mr. Everson as well for Snellville for District 106. And oddly enough, I would like to invite everyone out to the Community Unity concert that we're holding on August 19th at the Summit Chase lawn at the Summit Chase Clubhouse. So if you know where the kitchen at Summit Chase is also, it's right there. And so we'd like to invite the entire community out. We'll be holding that event, and we'll have a number of speakers. And my whole goal is to try to actually unite the community, because as just remarks that have been here tonight, there is a lot of divisiveness going on in our community, in our state, in our nation right now. A lot of that's reflected in the media, and it's just, we're all too polarized. We really are. And we need to come back together and get those values that we can show to each other. We can have common ground, we can find common ground, we can find unity. We can respect each other's views, and we can agree to disagree on some things. And that's life, that's the way it's going to be. So I just want to take this opportunity to invite everyone out to that concert. We'll have live music, and we'll have snacks and food and some speakers, and so it'll be a great time. And hopefully everyone can come together and recognize that we're all here trying to do the same things. We all want the same things. We all want to have a good family. We want to have a good place to live. We want to have a good community that we can rely on. And we want to have good services as well. And so I think we all want the same thing. Maybe we have different views on how to obtain that exactly, but we can work those issues out. And so I just want to thank you for your time this evening and leave that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tricia Rollins, 2088 Harbor Oaks Drive. Just some housekeeping things. Thank you, Lady Solange. I appreciate the council showing up for the neighborhood watch party. It was nice for the city to connect with the neighborhood. We've been through a lot in the last 12 years, and we've turned ourselves around. And as you could see this past neighborhood get-together, that we are growing closer together and looking out for each other. Our crime rate has gone from 46 break-ins, burglaries in our neighborhood down to little to nothing. We've had a couple car break-ins, but once we learn of one, then we can put the extra precaution out and settle things down and look out for ourselves. I don't know who's in charge of the speakers back here, but you can't hear from the speakers in the room. And when the person is speaking towards y'all, we're to the back and can barely hear you. So, but when y'all are speaking, we hear fine. Mr. Manuel, I'm glad you're back in town. The flame has been lit. That flame, we need to come to a solution on the flame. If we could have some communications as to what's going on with the flame. The lights in the city continue to go out. We have not, Mr. Wicks and I have not driven the city in quite a while, so, but I have noticed being out at night that we are losing lights again. So that is becoming an issue. Another housekeeping thing is, could we possibly get the DOT to look at the intersection of 78 and 124. When you're heading south on 124, turning east on 78, there are arrows at the end of the lane. We've already made the mistake of not turning there down here. If there could be arrows put at the beginning of the lane that should signal them where you should turn. Instead, every time I go through there, there are cars that go to that far lane thinking they've got to get in that far lane to travel. But the arrows that show you the correct way to go are at the other end of the lane. Perhaps maybe we need some more arrows at the beginning. The new building that's going down at the park is going to take over the spot where kids can play that are not in leagues. Are we going to allow them to be in the area where the leagues are once we take that space? That's another thing is we were told the gates would be open on the field for them to play, and many times they're locked. So the kids that are not in leagues don't get the opportunity to play. Snellville Pavilion, my little terror. I was sent a picture and I forwarded it to all of you where the gate was open last night. Again, okay, we're done, okay? We'll be talking to our attorneys and trying to, I feel like it's a conflict of interest for the city to control this shopping center and hold them accountable for the ordinance of the city and then collect money. What I would like to do, and I would like to ask a judge to do, is to declare it a nuisance at this point. I brought this before the council in December. We're now 7 months and we still got an unlocked gate. That's all I'm asking for, is a locked gate that a autistic child cannot get into the retention pond. And I'm not kidding you, there are turtles this big, and I've got pictures of them if you care to see. They're bigger than my steering wheel. And they've been into the neighborhoods. They've crawled under the fence and been out into the neighborhoods, and we've got pictures of them. We have to look at the back awnings on the building that are just, the paint is just rubbing off of them. The trucks have slowed down. Mr. Wiggs had a issue on Saturday, I believe it was one day last week, it was like 6 days ago, and where the grease truck was causing enormous amount of noise. He called the police. Last night, I don't know if it was a retaliation, but I heard the dumpster from my end of the shopping center. I thought an 18-wheeler had hit a car, and I went out, got in my car, went to 124 to see, but Texas Roadhouse was closing up, and all I can assume is that they're taking things to another step. I've forwarded over $300 worth of records that show that nothing's been done in 22 years that we've complained. There is an ordinance. If you cannot uphold an ordinance, then what's safe in the city? Okay? We're done. Mr. Wiggs and I are done. You won't get any more calls from us. We've documented it all enough. I've got all the records pulled. We're done. Something needs to be done with that shopping center, and I would ask that it be declared a nuisance from a judge. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rollins.
My name is Barry Wiggs. I live at 2210 Stockton Walk Lane, and I live directly behind Texas Roadhouse, just in case anyone needs to know where that is. The problem that we have is a total lack of respect from the owners of Snellville Pavilion and that whole property there. It's funny how we don't have issues with the few businesses that are not inside that zoned area. When Snellville Pavilion was zoned through planning and zoning and it was approved, there was noise ordinance conditions put on that zoning. From day one, they haven't followed that. Once I get on my high horse and I start calling and raising Cain with I've talked to Ms. Johnson many times about the dumpsters because the city's in control of that. She did everything that she could possibly do. They just didn't care because there was no fines being given at that point. I do have a fine from my FOIA request from, I think it was 2014, where there was a ticket given, but then nothing else has happened up until the last 3 months. The issue is partly this. This is what I was woken up to at 4 o'clock one morning. I don't know if can y'all hear that? Now that's just this. Now this went on for 30 minutes before I finally decided to call the police. They came out, they did find Texas Roadhouse. Driver got no ticket, the vendor, because they were new. And Butch knows what I'm talking about here. Every time they get a new driver or a new vendor, the police department wants to warn them first, giving them the benefit of the doubt. In this particular case, it was a new vendor, it was a new driver. However, the ordinance that I read doesn't say anything about that. It says no services from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. So at what point do we start bending the laws because we feel sorry for the truck drivers trying to make a living? I dealt with it since 1999, since I moved in. Dumpsters, pressure washers, thanks to this council, that has gotten a lot better. However, at this point, there's a lot of retaliation that Texas Roadhouse is doing, so I am asking, as is Ms. Rollins, that according to Article 3, Section 26-266, that Texas Roadhouse be classified as a nuisance and treated as such. They pay a lot of taxes in this city. However, I do too. I have a lot of residents around me that are elderly, and a lot of those residents I have talked to, I have got a petition that I have started from them to reinforce what I'm telling you tonight, that we're done. I'm not calling Snellville police unless it's something crazy like this. I'm not going to call them on the Texas Roadhouse employees in the back of the parking lot smoking their weed at 12:30 at night, drinking beer, partying, having a good time, walking down to Coles to urinate. I'm not going to comment on that anymore. So I'm asking the city council, before we have to get more involved with this, to please do something with this location. I do not know of any other location that I've talked to residents in that has this issue. I know I have a lot of residents in my neighborhood that have this same issue, but their response is, going to city council, you're wasting your time. And I'm trying to tell them it's not a waste of time. If you don't complain, they don't know there's a problem. So thank you for your time and patience, and hopefully we can get a resolution to this. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Weeks. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Gretchen, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, none opposed. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Be safe going home.